Here we are. Hello, chiropractors, slayers of subluxation, unleashers of the imprisoned impulse. I'm Dr. Anthony Pellegrino from ChiroEdge, and welcome to the Chiropractic Research Breakdown, where we break down the most relevant chiropractic science and philosophy to empower you with the ammo and certainty necessary to change your community from the inside out. I used to have a line in there that was each week we break down the most relevant chiropractic science and philosophy. And if you are somebody who follows this podcast, you know that has not been the case recently. And for that, I apologize. I apologize for being crappy. Many of you guys have reached out to me personally, emailed ChiroEdge, texted me, etc., asking what the heck is going on with the CRB, what's going on with the podcast, why is this not coming out, being encouraging and letting me know that you value it, you get a lot out of it, and I want to thank each of you guys who have done that, reached out to me personally. I love doing this podcast. I really do. So I'm going to kind of go through some changes that I'm going to make to just make it better, make it more consistent, and just be me. Alright, so if you don't like me, that's fine. Then don't listen, because it's just going to be more me. Anyway, so I apologize for being crappy. The reason, honestly, that I haven't put out podcast is because I was trying to just make it be this really specific thing with like all this structure where I wanted to go through like 3 articles a week, and that's all good and that's all great, and structure's awesome and really cool. And some people, like when I listen to podcasts, a lot of times I like structure, but it just doesn't work for me in the way that I produce. There would be some times when I would have a really good article for the ChiroEdge service that we would make, and I'd be, would go talk about it, and it didn't really, the article itself in text form was great. We put it out to the community, it did really well, but when talking about it, it just didn't really make, like my heart sing. So I would kind of like, honestly, I'll use the word, I would half-ass it and get through just to have that content out. And there's sometimes I pressed publish on the podcast, and I was like, man, I just don't feel good about that. And it's funny, those times, even when we have episodes like that, people reached out to me and said they got value from it, but I just didn't really, I just didn't get it. I didn't feel like I was really doing a good job, and then I would put it off the next week because I was like, do I really have something really great to talk about? And so yeah, because of that, what I've decided is that I am going to get rid of that structure where we talk about 3 articles a week. I'm going to talk about whatever articles I want to talk about, which I hope that, obviously, you guys can hear when I take off, when I get passionate. That's the stuff that people like, but I'm only going to talk about things that I'm really excited about. I'm going to talk about something, hopefully every week, but I'm only going to talk about things that I'm really excited about. One other thing that I can tell you is I'm going to make this a little bit more raw. By that, what I mean is I'm going to edit it less. I'm going to hopefully, maybe I'll eventually have somebody put in like the music and stuff like that, but I'm just gonna stop doing that because it just added stuff that I wasn't getting to. So I'm gonna stop with the editing and adding music, everything like that. Maybe eventually I'll hire somebody, or if any of you guys know how to do that really well, really quickly, efficiently. I just don't know how to do that, so it was just a waste of time. So I'm gonna make it a lot more raw. I'm gonna record everything in one shot. As you guys see the microphone here, I'm also recording the audio here, but I'm going to try to do some Facebook Lives with it as well, depending on wherever you guys kind of get your content from, whether it's Facebook, whether it's live, whether it's audio, you listen in the car, whatever it is, we'll have it there for you. Okay, so if you're somebody who usually listens to the podcast audio, this is actually, we're recording, we're going to have that out later today. And when I mention raw as well, so the topics we go through, the actual things that we talk about, we're going to do that. We're going to just go that all the way through. and sorry, I thought my laptop died for a second. That would have been a problem. We're going to go all the way through, and we're going to focus a little bit more on mental health. I am really passionate, beyond passionate, about chiropractic and mental health. For personal reasons, for many reasons, and I'm probably going to go a little bit more into that, let you guys know a little bit more about who I am and what I stand for personally. And I'm pretty, I don't have a very good filter, so because of that, on the audio, I can't promise anything live, sometimes I just get into it, but on the audio format, if anything's ever not safe for work, because I don't want you to necessarily listen to, in the car with your kids around, I'll put that in the beginning of the audio as well from this point forward. So I'll let you know right in the beginning, in the first couple seconds on the audio podcast, if it's going to be not safe for work, because I think that's something that's really important, and I want to be able to not worry about that, and I want to be able to get into some really important nitty-gritty topics, things that I find are really important, things that I find that you should know, personal experiences as well that I think are going to be really good and add a lot of not only research value, but just relating to individuals and relating to patients and practice members, which is something that I feel as though I do really well, and just kind of letting you guys know into that. Sometimes I'll probably do interviews. Sometimes I'll go over other practice topics besides research. Like I mentioned, there's going to be less structure. So I'm not going to be, and this is my promise to you, I'm not going to be wasting my time talking about topics that I don't feel passionate about. And honestly, I'm not going to be wasting your time putting out content just to simply fill the airwaves and fill the spaces. If it's not something that I'm really excited about, we're just not going to talk about it. I really love and I appreciate each and every one of you guys, especially those who have reached out with words of encouragement over the last month or so that we haven't produced anything. Some of you guys let me know that this is very, very valuable for you, and that's something I've kept in mind, and why I kind of went back and looked at things and made sure that everything we did in the future was going to be awesome. All right, so we're going to talk about one article today. If you guys are ready to actually talk about research, this is why you're here, right? Not just letting me hear me ramble about things that I did that were crappy, what we're going to do in the future. So we're going to talk about one article today. It's from the European Journal of Pediatrics. And I'm actually talking about, I just mentioned mental health. We're going to jump into this. I'm really excited. It's called Association Between Psychological and Social Factors and Spinal Pain in Adolescence. I mean, this is actually huge, right? Because a lot of times, obviously, you guys know it's not just about pain and chiropractic, but if we can look at and understand that pain, for example, especially spinal pain, which we know, I mean, you could take out the principled, you can get like somebody from National, and they'll say, oh, spinal pain in adolescence? Yeah, that seems like something we could work with. And it's like, well, let's not even take the neurological component. Let's just look and see what's correlated, right? Let's just go look and see why it's so important to check kids. Because according to the European Journal of Pediatrics, about 86% of teenagers, 86% experience some kind of spinal pain. And this is one of my favorite lines they have in the introduction. They say spinal pain in adolescence is strongly associated with spinal pain in adulthood. I mean, that makes sense. But one of the things that in my office, whenever anybody gets a tour of the office, if you guys are part of a group like amped like I am, you've probably heard yourself repeat from time and time again, sick kids become sick adults and healthy kids become healthy adults. And if you don't believe me, read the European Journal of Pediatrics, which says spinal pain in adolescence is strongly associated with spinal pain in adulthood. So in individuals, adolescents with spinal pain, they have found in research higher levels of stress, of depression, of negative behavior, of emotional problems, of poor quality life, and of higher levels of peer problems or social problems. So what they did was they took almost 1,300 1,300 Danish students, 1279, aged 11 to 13, and they broke down into 3 different groups essentially, okay? The first group, obviously, is people with no pain, okay? The second group is individuals with any pain, and the third group is with substantial pain, high levels of pain and on a more frequent basis. So what I found really interesting is you would think that maybe the highest number of kids you'd think have no pain, adolescents. Well, 13% of the children in this study, 13% of the kids in this study, aged 11 to 13, experienced no spinal pain. 13%. 13%! Any pain was the highest category of 86%. 86%. About 28% had substantial pain. Okay. Now, those numbers don't add up 100% to exactly 100% because of rounding, because of the way they broke people up into different categories. But of the people associated, surveyed, about 86% had any sort of spinal pain. So the way they broke it down was 1,279, and maybe I just did my math wrong because I'm looking at that. 1,279 people assessed, 176 had no pain, 1,103 had any, and then 362 had substantial. All right, so it looks like they're putting the any of substantial in together. Something I missed, but that's really good to go over. Anyway, what they found in these kids was that they had statistical significance of the different categories of social as well as psychological factors. So they asked each of these kids, as they're putting them into these groups, they used questionnaires to assess psychological factors like mood, nervousness, difficulty sleeping, and things like loneliness. So the different categories, what they had was low mood, bad mood, nervousness, difficulty sleeping, loneliness, and whether or not we feel as though our other pupils accept us as we are. All right, here's the deal. There's statistical significance of people who had any pain over no pain at all. So if you experienced any spinal pain at all, you were statistically significantly more likely to have low mood, bad mood, nervousness, difficulty sleeping, loneliness, and believing that your other pupils accept you as you are. If you had substantial pain, you also were even more likely than not only people with no pain, but people with any pain at all. So this led them to believe and conclude that the higher levels and the higher levels of frequency, the more often kids aged 11 to 13 are experiencing any sort of spinal pain, the more often they are experiencing this, the more likely they are to have low mood, bad mood, nervousness, difficulty sleeping, loneliness, and your pupils accepting us as we are. So like I said, you can take the Journal of Chiropractic Mini, right? You can go to National, you can go to any other non-principled school, you can go anywhere and just say, well, I know, like, you don't believe in subluxation, neurologically based, blah, 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 you just care about people with pain. But guess what? If they have pain, and if they're a teenager, they're more likely to experience bad moods, low moods, nervousness, difficulty sleeping, loneliness, and their other pupils accepting them as we are. So can we get over this nonsense that we have here about, like, the only reason we should see somebody is like neck pain or back pain and kids and blah, 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 and it's evidence-based? No. No, shut up. It is evidence-based. According to the European Journal of Pediatrics, it is. Anyway, I missed you guys. I missed this. I really did. I'm Dr. Anthony Pellegrino from ChiroEdge. This was this week's Chiropractic Research Breakdown. As always, if you like articles like this and you want it in a fun newsletter type format to deliver to your practice members on a daily basis, we put together 3 articles a week, newsletters a week, with your brand, with your information on it, to give to your practice members, as well as 3 associated social media posts. You can get a 2-week free trial at chiroedgemedia.com. No credit card necessary unless you want to. Anyway, hope you guys have a great day, great week. Slay those subluxations. I will catch y'all soon.